Hello, welcome to another edition of Devlin's Pirate Radio Show. I am Devlin, and thank you for pressing play and joining me for an hour of conversation. It's just me here today, and I've got a couple of things I'd like to talk about. Nothing too serious, I think. Might get a little heavy-handed at the ends, but pretty light episode, I think, compared to some of the past ones and stuff. And believe it or not, I am one episode away from number 100. That to me is absolutely mind-blowing. I cannot believe I have done 100 episodes. Well, not yet. Not yet. I don't want to jinx myself. But anyhow, it's been cold, and Groundhog Day just passed, and I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the weather, because I'm always so interested and how people are so fascinated by the weather. So I decided to do a little segment. And I'm going to start it off with Groundhog Day, because, I know Groundhog Day is more based in fun. I know nobody really takes it seriously, or I certainly hope people don't take it seriously, because, it's goofy. The fact that, our Wyerton Willie, has a big ceremony, and then, this poor little groundhog that always looks so frightened comes out, and, if he sees his shadow, I never get this right. If he sees his shadow, it's an early spring, I think it is. And if he doesn't see his shadow, it's going to be there's going to be more winter coming our way. Now, this is 2017. He apparently said this is going to be an early spring. Some people have told me, but, we haven't really had much of a winter. But I always say, hey, you know what? You can't rule out February and March now. Like, February is still a winter month, but March has seen quite a bit of snow at times. So, I'm not sold that we haven't seen the end of winter. But anyhow, I love how, they do this ceremony in the groundhog. And I think it's fun, I actually put Groundhog Day higher than other holidays that we have. Just because it's fun. I think holidays should be fun, and I like that, people get into it and stuff like that. It is probably one of the shortest holidays, because even though it, technically it lasts the whole day, really once, the many different groundhogs all over the North America do their prediction, they probably just go off and drink and party. But overall, it's done once the groundhog came out. And people talk about it and say, oh, But that's the thing. What I love about weather is people just always talk about weather. And, I know it's the perfect groundbreaker, because if you don't know somebody that well, it's not like you're just going to start talking about really personal stuff. So the weather's always a great way to start. It's been pretty cold lately. Yeah, I got to button up and stuff, And I love that Canadians absolutely adore talking about weather. It drives me crazy. Like, I get the icebreaker thing. Icebreaker, that's kind of a play on twist pun for weather. But, I get when you're, like, just kind of sitting with somebody you barely know when you bring up the weather. I have no problem with that. But you can hear people talk about weather for ages. Like, I don't even think weathermen talk about weather that often. And maybe they do. But I think it was a couple places. I think I just watched the pilot episode Twin Peaks. And they make a comment to the fact that, weathermen have this job where they can be wrong 60% of the time, but they still have a job. And they said, I think Dale Cooper makes a reference to, well, that would be a good job to have. It's like you don't need to be detailed or anything like that. And I agree with that. Like, I'm shocked by how many times I listen to the radio and nothing they say happens. And it's like, and they're getting paid for this. And why don't you just admit weather is unpredictable? It's Mother Nature. It's, it does its own thing. Yeah, it's nice when they can predict a little bit, but how many times just this year or like this winter have they said it's going to snow? And we prepare for snow, people cancel things, no snow. And it's just crazy how, oh, it's going to rain, no rain. Or sometimes I've heard that they said, it's going to be fine, it's going to be mild, it's going to be sunny, and then the clouds come and rain falls. I'm not saying weather should be 100%. It would be nice if it would be, we could get those hurricanes and stuff. And I do know it's important to have weather prediction because they do predict, hurricanes sometimes, and they always deal with the worst. But the problem is that when the weathermen and women come out and say the weather, people run with it. Like, this gives people like people talk about it like they are the ones who are skilled in this process. Like, oh, I heard there's going to be weather. Oh, I don't think I better go anywhere tomorrow. There's going to be sleet and snow, and these people are already predicting, like, oh, I don't know if I'll be able to get into work. And sometimes it's just absolutely insane. I remember, this is my old guy segment because I'm going to mention that I remember I didn't live far from my school, but I remember trudging through lots of snow to get to school. And yes, I was always excited for that snow day. But now they have a little precipitation, that has some sleet in it. And it's closed. We're closed. Or the buses don't drive, the whole works. And I'm looking out the window like, are you kidding me? There's like 3 flakes on the ground and they're closing school. And I always love on Facebook when the parents are always like, I'd rather be safe than sorry. Well, yeah, I've talked about that in the past, how we are building a population of wimps and non-survivors. And this just continues in it, Yes, it's better to be safe than sorry. But you know what? Sometimes hardship and having to deal with things that are a little bit out of the norm kind of build character, kind of build skills. Walking through snow, being able to walk on ice properly. So it's great that we're protecting our kids. We can also wrap some fucking bubble wrap around them if you want to. But the truth of the matter is one day they're going to be running to work. There'll be snow, and they won't be used to it, and they're going to slip and break their neck and the whole works. So I say deal with it now. I'm not saying send them out in a goddamn blizzard. I'm saying let them deal with a little bit of sleet on the ground. Good Lord, close the school. I have to lose a day of my work because I have to stay in with the kids. Yeah, right. I always like when the people phone in and say, well, nobody's here to take care of the kids, so unfortunately I'm going to have to lose the hours. Damn well they're kicking their thing. They're already calling, in their robe and pajamas and stuff like that. I love that parents always play I gotta be a good parent. And damn well they're just excited to have a snow day just as much as the kids. So come on, stop lying to me. Anyhow, weather. Weather predictions. I love. Remember a couple of years ago, every time there was a storm brewing, it was like Stormageddon, Snowmageddon. Looked like it was going to be one of those Irwin Allen films, like Earthquake or The Towering Inferno or Poseidon Adventure. It was like literally like every storm coming up was going to be the storm of the century, and every prediction fell flat. You were lucky if you got a couple flurries, and you're like, okay, I get that when they call a huge storm, and then they get we do get snow, but they say it wasn't as bad as I thought. I get that. That happens, wind pressures, barometric pressures. Okay, I'm not a weatherman. I don't know the terms, but I know wind changes can change things and stuff like that. But what I don't get is when they call for the storm of the century and nothing. Not even you see wind blowing thing and you don't even see any flakes, and that has happened in the past couple of years. And I'm like, how does it go from snow? Honestly, I sometimes think it sells newspapers or gets you to watch, the news, gets you to go online to check the weather channels and stuff like that. I don't know. Sometimes I think they overdo it just to get the attention and get people listening. Could be wrong. Could be wrong. I don't know. But anyhow, I just love people's fascination with weather and how it becomes. But honestly, I'd rather hear the weather than hear them talk about their phones. Because I hate that, because now cell phones are such a big thing. And I even hate the fact they're called cell phones because people don't use the phone that often. If they were using the phone as often. But I know so many people that have cell phones that don't talk on the phone. They text or they go and they keep telling me how connected we are to the world. But I hate that there's a whole thing where people can actually sit and talk about their phones. Like, oh, you know what I just got? I got a Samsung. Yeah, I got an Apple. I don't even know how to talk like phone thing. I would rather them talk about the weather. Oh, I guess I'll be shoveling this weekend, I guess I'll be. But I think people love that. I think they seem so self-righteous that they just like, oh, I'm going to be shoveling. Well, you bought the house. You wanted to do that. And, some people say, well, it's so therapeutic. And I can see the benefits of shoveling snow. It's good exercise and stuff like that. I hate shoveling snow. That's why Mike and I live in an apartment. We chose, because we basically, talked about stuff like that, and we were honest. Honestly, we were honest because a lot of people aren't. And as a couple, we said, okay, do we ever want to live in a house? Do you like to mow lawns? Do you like to shovel snow? And Mike looked like, no, well, I don't either. So why the hell are we going to live in a house? We'll be spending all our time doing things we don't like. I'd rather lose the money on rent. And I don't think it's losing money because I think I'm still buying a home. I know people are like, but you're wasting all that money. You know what? The way I see it, we only have a short time on Earth, okay? And if you honestly think you actually own that, forget it. That's going to be gone soon. You have to put it up for sale when you get old, or your kids are going to fucking dump you in a senior's home. But anyhow, getting off topic. I don't believe you actually own your house. Then you got your neighbors, and you're like, if you got a certain neighborhood, you have to keep your thing. So yeah, you have a little bit of privacy. You got a place you can barbecue. But if you do anything, not to mention if you got bad neighbors, you just held hostage. So the way I see it is I'd rather pay less and be in an apartment where you deal with similar stuff, but it's still a home to me. But Mike and I were seriously, I don't like to shovel snow. And honestly, I don't care how much exercise it gets. And I'm happy for you if it gives you like, oh, I love going out and thinking. I don't know. Yeah, I get the exercise part of it, but when people tell me, I find it actually therapeutic. I like to get out and, shovel the snow. It's invigorating and I get my mind off things. I start to question a little bit that you'd rather be doing that than spending time with your loved ones. Your wife's inside, or maybe the wife's out shoveling and your husband's inside. I'm certainly an equal opportunity shoveler. But the kids are inside, and you'd rather be out shoveling snow, not spending time with them. Not going out with friends. That kind of weirds me out in a big way. But get me wrong, I love it. I'd rather sit and watch somebody doing that. Snow shoveling's not as hot, though, because you're basically bulking color. I could sit on a back porch and watch some guy doing my lawn in the summer, drinking mint juleps and stuff like that. This is the weirdest talk about weather I've ever had. But I love that people are like, oh, I find it therapeutic and stuff like that. Because it's just like, yeah, okay, whatever. But anyhow, I also have a jaded look. I know a man who always told me, I like going out and shoveling snow. And he lost his life right after shoveling snow. A friend of mine, Terry O'Hagan, a man I absolutely adored. He was a mentor and a friend. And he actually died on my birthday, which made it twice as sad. And it was already sad because I miss this man immensely, but I don't blame the snow shoveling. He was in pretty good health. Like, he wasn't perfect, but, he stayed active and stuff like that. And he basically, young, I think he was only 60, 61. And he basically was out shoveling snow one day and came in, said, I need to take a little bit of a nap, and he died. So, you know, I don't want to go that way. So I will look at the pretty snow from my apartment window. Anyhow, but I love how people just absolutely adore weather. Even when they claim to hate it, I just think they love to talk about it. Whether it's beautiful, gorgeous day. I love when people, I love when people come to Value Village in the summer and say, "Oh, it's gorgeous out there." First of all, two things. I know it's small talk, but number one, keep in mind that the people you're telling have to stay indoors to work. I don't have an outdoor job. I'm lucky sometimes I get to do a takeout where I get to take somebody's buggy out to them. But besides that, I can't enjoy the summer weather, so why are you bringing it up? And number two, if it's so gorgeous outside, why the hell are you in a store? Why are you in a store? And that works again with snowstorms too. Because sometimes we've got snow, just going nuts, and people are still coming in to shop. Okay, if we were a pharmacy and people were trying to get their drugs or things they needed, I can understand. If we were a grocery store and we needed, people needed to buy food or, diapers for their kids or whatever, I would get that. But it just makes me laugh when people are out in the snow and then they come up to the cash and say, "Oh, it's horrible out there." And I just want to say, and I may have said it a few times, then what are you doing out? What are you doing out? Yes, I appreciate that you're shopping and that helps pay my wages, but honestly, come on. You're complaining about the weather, but you're out at a secondhand store. Anyhow, it's kind of funny to me. Just how people complain about things, but then they're not doing the things, or praising them, "Oh, it's a gorgeous day out there, but I'm going to be in here shopping," so I don't know. People are always like that. Anyhow, I'm not a big talker of weather, but that doesn't mean you can't stop and talk to me about the weather, because I find myself doing it too. Usually when I'm, riding up the elevator and cute guys in there and I kind of want to make talk. Yeah, I'm shallow. You knew that. Unless you're new to this thing, you'll find out real fast. I'll even say, pretty nice weather out there. Or, whew, whew, what a chill. What a chill. I actually like to overdo it when I talk about the weather, Anyhow, maybe I should have been a weatherman. Sounds like a good job. Anyhow, we're going to take a short break right now. I'm going to talk. Valentine's Day is coming up. I didn't decide to do a Valentine's Day. Can't even remember if I've done a full Valentine's Day show. I must have. I know I've talked about it in the past. But anyhow, I'm going to talk about the old days in Valentine's when I was a kid. Don't know if I ever talked about that. But anyhow, if I did, you can always fast forward. If you didn't, stay tuned, because I'm going to talk about that next. Welcome back to Devlin's Pirate Radio Show. Anyhow, we are going to talk a little bit about Valentine's Day. It's coming up, and I've talked about many different things. I promoted my Valentine's Day show, which I am doing again this year. How we first met, that we do. Not my show. I'm in it. I'm a host. I work with an incredible cast. And I'm doing that again, so I'm very excited about that. But I decided I don't think I've ever talked about when we were kids and Valentine's Day. Because I look at Valentine's Day now, and I'm sure it was similar when I was a kid. But when you go into Walmart's or even the dollar store stuff, or Hallmark or anything, I actually like seeing the card row where you see all the reds and the pinks and the whites and stuff. And, Don't forget that special someone on February 14th. And I like that. But then I see some of the other stuff, like the weird like monkeys that make kissing noises, or like bears that twerk and might play "Hot Chocolate's You Sexy Thing" or something. And some of them are just so like this year. I even saw like the emoji poo as a Valentine's Day thing, and I'm thinking, okay, I know the world's changing, but I'm still in the mode. If you sent me a stuffed animal shaped as poo, I don't know if I'll be your Valentine. I have a sense of humor, but that's a bit far to me. Like, unless I did Shiza films or something, and it's an inside joke or something. Shiza films. Talking about Valentine's Day, and I actually said Shiza films 3 times now, actually. But anyhow, I see like the kids stuff, and I always get I love seeing the kids. You get like 32 Valentine's Days, and it's got the Power Rangers on it, or Mickey Mouse, or the Avengers, or Star Wars, or whatever. And I love, because I used to love that. I used to like buy them all the time. A lot of the times it was peanuts for me growing up, but I did change it up a bit, and I had some superhero stuff. I seem to recall a Super Friends set when I was little, but now it was always now it's always you have to make sure that everybody gets a Valentine's Day. I'm actually surprised. Maybe they've banned Valentine's Day in schools, but I used to remember it was always kind of fun. Not fun when I was going through it because it was nerve wracking. But looking back at it, it's kind of fun how we were as kids. Because I remember we'd always have to make. Well, now I see that they make these little mailboxes and stuff, but ours we just decorated like literally one of those business big envelopes, and we taped it to the front of our desk, and we'd have a time in class where we got to cut, and I was a really artistic kid, so I just loved that. Okay, we're going to put our math away now because we're going to make our mailboxes, which, as I said, was just a big craft envelope. No, and then we got to cut out hearts and glue them on, and draw little things, and I love that as a kid because fuck math. No, yeah. But I love doing that, and then you tape it onto the desk. Now, nowadays, I don't even know. As I said, I'm assuming they still do this, but now I see them, and everybody has to. You make sure everybody in your class gets one. Now, I think this did start happening near the end of when we did this, but I remember when we first started doing this. You just gave it to the people you liked or were friends. Being a gay man now, when I look at it, I think it's actually kind of, I don't know. To me, it's just like, because I remember giving Valentines to other boys and boys giving me Valentines. It's kind of sweet now. But I think at a certain age it stops because you just feel weird giving Valentines to guys. I wish it didn't. I personally think it's I think it's sweet still, but I don't know. There's also a hetero aspect to it that it's kind of telling you you got to pick people you like and stuff. But I think now, and then I see like some of them now are like you get Valentine's Day and you get like an eraser, or you get like a lollipop or something like it. Like you have to actually have something now on top of it. And I go, what the hell is this? I was so excited to get those little cards. Those little, cards you'd buy a box of, and then you'd write, your friend's name, and then you'd be like, oh, I don't like that person. They're not getting one from me. And you'd be picking, well, if I have to give them one, I'm going to give them, Marcy from the Peanuts instead of, one of my good Snoopy or Charlie Brown ones. And, it was a big thing. Now, as I said, later on, I do believe we did start giving everybody in the class one so they didn't feel left out. And I was okay with that. But come on, talk about commando. Like, I remember early on, you just basically didn't know if you were going to get any. So there you are sitting there with, you're looking all pathetic. You come in dressed up and you're looking all pathetic with your craft envelope in front, hoping that you decorated good enough. And I remember the teacher would be like, okay, so everybody can now deliver your cards. And you would get your little envelopes that you get, or actually I don't think they came in envelopes. I think they just were like to from, and then you wrote to Judy from Devlin. And so basically you'd go around and you'd just look for their desks and start putting put it in. And I remember I always never look at my desk because I did not want to see that nobody was going over it or who was going over to it. And as I said, and it was very stressful. So all you see are these kids frantically, putting these things in these craft artistic envelopes. And after we go sit down. Now, I always remember they used to take a break, as in we'd go to recess or we'd do like some English or something. And then we'd wait till near the end of the class to open up our envelopes. Now, I always thought this was nice too. It wasn't we just take them home. No, we're actually going to show how many we get. And even though I think this is kind of wrong, I also think there's a rightness to it. As in, I don't think there's anything wrong about learning that, yeah, that guy's the most popular kid in the class, or she's more popular than everybody else. I don't know. I think there's got to be a certain amount of reality, but now I can't see that happening due to the fact that, oh my God, if we can't send them in like an inch of snow, we certainly cannot break their hearts. It's better to have people fake like you than actually learn the truth about the world early, because you'll find out about that way in life. Maybe I think we should go back to the old, just your friends or people you like. So anyhow, I remember going open my craft, the teacher would be like, okay, everybody get your craft, and I'd always be like, okay, I have always said that I've known I was gay when I was like 7 years old. I just didn't know the name of it. So if I liked people, whether it was a girl or a guy, I'd be excited when I got their card. And I'd slowly put my hand in the craft thing, and I'd be relieved when I felt that there was something in there. I'd be even more relieved when it felt like more than one. And so I was slowly pulling them out one at a time. And I remember going through a wealth of emotions because you'd have your obvious friends at school, and that would just make you proud. Like, yes, we're bonding now. We've committed. This year, you are my Valentine. Then you'd also get people you're actually a little shocked at. Like, wow, I didn't even know they knew me. And, there might even be moments where you look up and they're actually looking to see if they got it. And because you're like a little kid, you really don't know how to deal with that. But it still makes you feel good because you're like, hey, a new friend. Then you hopefully see those people that you really, really like and hope that maybe they've noticed you, and you almost tremble as you're going in for the last couple that are in there, and oh, Glenn, that's very nice of Glenn, but that's not the name I was looking for. Oh, Josie, oh, Josie, she's sweet. I always liked Josie. Oh my God, there's only one in, and I really hope it's from John, And as I said, I couldn't process being gay. I just knew I really liked certain people, and well, a lot of times there was a guy named John I really liked in school before high school, and I'd pull it out, and I'd be relieved if it was that. The name I was looking for. And of course, a little kicked in the teeth when it wasn't. But I don't know. I think it made me stronger as a person. I think it's kind of, why bother if, you're just, okay, checklist. Everybody in the class has officially given me a card. what do you do now? You look at how nice the card is, because usually it is those packs, you know, where it's just like, oh, Avengers. Well, I don't like Hawkeye, so I'm going to give him Hawkeye. So you kind of have to establish, oh, Captain America. This has got to be a good thing. I got a Captain America card. I got a Luke Skywalker card. This has got to be a good thing. I didn't get, Imperial Snowtrooper, wishes you be mine, so later on in school, in high school, when they get rid of the, Valentine's Day cards, we did a thing, I remember, on Valentine's Day where you could buy carnations for people. And basically, you would go and buy carnations. Now, here's where the gay side of me really was bothered, because I did not reveal I was gay. A couple people figured it out, but I still was dealing with it. I knew I was, but I still couldn't put words to it. So we go from like where it was okay to send boys, other boys, Valentines, to just girls and guys and girls. But the thing that always pissed me off too was girls were allowed to send girls carnations. But imagine if another boy sent a carnation. It would be so sweet, but it would never happen. So what would happen, there was a table and they had a ton of carnations. Now, they did have meanings, like they, I don't know the meanings, but, yellow ones meant friendship, or purity was white, and pink was love, and red was love. I don't know. Lust. I don't think it was lust. I don't remember high school having lust. So anyhow, they do these drives, and then the carnations would come out. And you'd go sign up and put the name and the color you wanted. And then what would happen was they would deliver these to your class. So everybody, the class would stop to see who gets a carnation. Now, they didn't just do it like all the people in this class. They would come throughout the whole class. So somebody would come in, this girl would get like 3 of them. And then everybody, oh, you got 3 of them. And you'd see, some of the other girls that, oh, I didn't get any. But the class isn't over because they didn't do it all at once. They basically, okay, we're continuing. And then, oh, I got some deliveries for you. And the teacher was always like, oh, pissed off. And every time you'd hear, you'd just be hoping and praying. Now, I knew I didn't have a shot in hell because, one, I wasn't gay. I know a friend would not send me a thing. But I always, whenever I saw the carnations at the door, I would always be like, is this one for me? Is this one going to be for me? And I wasn't alone. I looked around and there were other like girls. I don't think there was a lot of guys that were like, but even the jocks, they would get them. The jocks were the really cool guys back in my day. And, their girlfriends would send it to them, or girls that liked them and stuff. So even they could walk around with carnations and be not like accused of, oh, look at you, you're a fag or something like that, because it was cool to get these carnations. But again, you didn't give one to everybody in class, because I think these babies cost like $1 or $2 or something like that for each one. So there's no way, teenage kids are cranking out like, $30 for everybody in their class. But anyhow, it was traumatizing, and I never got a flower sent to me at school, so it made me tougher though. It just made me realize, screw it, and that's why Valentine's Day can be stressful for young people and stuff like that. And I think I've talked about Valentine's Day, and I actually like Valentine's Day. And I always say that the people that put it down and say, this is just a man-made holiday. Well, pretty much every holiday is a man-made holiday, including weddings and anniversaries and stuff like that. If you're not into Valentine's Day, you are a hypocrite if you're into weddings or birthdays or anything like, because these are all created. Birthdays actually makes a little more sense because you don't know exactly when it is, so it's like a holiday that's not picked. But when you, 7 months, I know when my wedding is. Yeah, you're a hypocrite if you're like, I don't celebrate Valentine's Day, but you fucking have, an anniversary or weddings and stuff like that. Because, yeah, it's man-made, but, if you care about people, then you're going to celebrate it. And I find that the people that complain about it are just people that usually don't really celebrate anything. Or if they do, probably not to the point that they do. Mike and I don't go overboard on Valentine's. In fact, we don't even exchange gifts anymore. We usually go out for a nice meal, spend some time together, and that's it. And we do that any day. So when people say, well, Valentine's Day just forces you to spend time, well, honestly, I spend time with Mike any other time, so we just use, hey, why not that day? And usually I have how we first met on Valentine's Day, so I don't even get a chance to see Mike on Valentine's. We always do our day a couple of days before or something like that. But anyhow, that's my look at traumatizing Valentine's Day for kids. I'm going to take another short break, and then I'm going to come back, talk a little more serious about things I'm starting to discover about the world, and some of you are already, these are never good. Anyhow, take a short break. We'll be back. Before I get to my next talk, people have been asking me for a while if I'm going to do something special for episode 100. Just like people ask me, are you going to do something special for your 50th? Well, I think what I've got planned is special, but it's probably not what people are expecting. I'm not going to have a big party and have everybody over and, do an episode. Though I'd like to do that one day, but I don't necessarily need to do it. But I have an idea of something I want to do, and it's going to be more intimate, and I hopefully won't be alone for it. I think it'll be nice. Yeah, I think that's what I've decided to do, because it's one of those things. I've thought about different things, but when this idea popped in my head, it was like, I'm kind of the guy that if something pops in my head and it's like, yeah, that's it, that's the winner. Anyhow, I won't tell you what it is because we're only a week away. You can wait that long. Besides, I got something important to talk to you about. For anybody who listens to me regularly, you know that I've had a lot of stuff in my head over the last, 2 years. And I've come to terms that it's about growing old and starting to realize things in the world. And I'm really holding on to my dreamer status. I'm really trying to hold on to my optimism. But I find I have to adapt a lot. I kind of take it like it's the Matrix. I'm starting to find out that the world is one thing, but there's this whole thing behind the scenes, and I'm starting to get how that works and trying to keep my sanity through it. One of the things I've come to terms in the last couple of weeks, and I've had some situations with friends and family, and what it is I've come to terms with the fact that pretty much most of the things that people say to you, maybe not most, we'll go about 55%, maybe 60%, are going to be lies. Now, sweet lies, as in lies to make you feel better. But I'm starting to realize that not everything people say to you is true. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not totally naive. I know that people say things, but I am starting to find out that even the people that are closest to you still tell you things that they have no intention of following through on. Some of it intentional, some not intentional. So things like, when people tell you, I miss you, okay? It's a beautiful statement. You write me that or tell me that, and it means a lot to me. But then when I see that you're not following it up with, I want to hang out with you sometime, we should go for coffee, it's just, I miss you. Now, sure, there's some things that you can't, like obviously if somebody's overseas or far away, I miss you, that's what it is. But if it's somebody who lives, down the block or in the same city, yet cannot find time, yes, I'll give some schedule, but I've gone on about how people's schedules are always busy, but you can always squeeze something in or sacrifice something if that's important. But no, it's easier to say, I miss you. Some people say, I love you. And some people, I'm somebody who can say it quite easily. Because my big thing is, I do love a lot of people, but there's only a handful of people that I'm in love with you. Now, you might be saying, hey, Devlin, aren't you only supposed to be in love with Mike? And I said, no, because I'm a passionate person, and sometimes I fall in love with other people. Now, it's a different kind of love, but to me, it's a love that's just as important. And in different circumstances, different situations, I believe that love could be similar to what I have with Mike. And Mike gets this. So some people just say I love you off the cuff. I notice sometimes I say I love you to people or send it in an email, and some easily can send it back because most of them they care about you deeply. I think some do actually love you. Again, if actions don't back it up. Other words that, I'll always need you. I will always need you. And then, again, it melts your heart when you hear it. Then you realize that it's not true. Because need doesn't have to always be anything really huge. Need can be just be like, I just want to be near you for a while. But again, if there's no actions backing that up, then it's not true. Other things people say, or just so many of them. It's just like, yes, I read too much into this, but the other night, I think it was January 25th. Bell had their Let's Talk, as in, let's talk about mental health. If you need somebody to talk to, give me a call. And I remember that I woke up that morning, and so many people had basically copied and pasted this thing that just said, if you need to talk to me, I'm here for you. And the thing that always bothered me about it was, at the end, a lot of them said stuff there, I did it. I did this for a friend. I did this. And kind of like, to me, that just states there, I did it, but I don't mean a damn word of it. I don't want to be mean, but I know people that posted that. And I'm not trying to say they're hypocrites and stuff, but I know those people wouldn't cross the street for me to give me a glass of water if I was on fire. The same people who might say I miss you, I love you, and all that crap. But anyhow, I got seeing so much of it. And don't get me wrong, I think some of them were genuine, some of them sincere, and, but that night, I planned to not do anything. I had a hard day at work, and I decided I'm just going to watch TV and stuff. So I was thinking about what I wanted to say, because I didn't want to, copy and paste. I don't copy and paste. And so I wanted to put a really inspiring status to help people who are going through mental health. Now, I was actually honored because a couple of people who were gone through mental health issues basically didn't like the campaign at all because of the fact that it makes it seem like this is the only day most people will talk to you. And they were offended because it's like, well, we should be open to communication all the time. And I agree that. Now, Bell still, helped out. Every time you put that, it's hashtag Let's Talk. I think they gave like a cent or $1 towards mental health. I don't know how it works. But anyhow, but some people complain that, well, I want people to be there all the time for me, when I need them, not just one day. It's kind of like, make sure you're not feeling good or suicidal on that one day. So I got what they were saying. So as I was sitting there trying to come up with something inspirational, I decided that I was going to take actions, and I'm going to stay online for a bit. So I type that it's 7 o'clock. I'm here if you need to talk to me. Private message me. Come on, just say hi, or if you want to talk about serious stuff. I stayed on that Facebook for 2.5 hours. In that time, I talked to 18 people in various degrees. Not all at the same time, because sometimes you'd have a little chat, maybe for a half hour, people would go. Sometimes I think I was juggling only about 3 conversations at a time. Now, some of you are saying, but they weren't quality. And I go, you know what? Some of them were just highs. Some of them were just shooting the shit. Some were people I was reconnecting with. But some of them were very serious topics about going through stuff. Some of them were also setting up get-togethers so we could have real good chats. So coffee dates, movie dates, just hanging out dates. Several of them happened after that. And that, to me, is what Let's Talk was all about. After that, I started getting, and every 15 minutes, I would just remind people, I'm still here, I'm still here. And I was only going to do this for maybe a half hour. You know, oh, that's it. And I kept seeing people contacting me. And I said to myself, this is something I'm going to do every once in a while now, because people need to communicate sometimes. Sometimes they don't need you to be there to solve their problems. Sometimes they just want to talk. Sometimes they just want a friend. And I don't want to pat myself on the back too much, but I wish I saw more actions that day than just, slapping on a cut and paste and pretending that you would be there for them. And yeah, maybe some people would be, but I think others were just like, yeah, nobody's going to call me. I'll just do it. But when I stayed open for 2.5 hours, I was contacted by 18 people. And that's, to me, incredible. But now I'm coming to terms with the fact that sometimes people will say stuff to me, and I tell myself, that's beautiful, but it's not true. The hardest situation I go through is when people tell me they'll be there for me. If you're ever in a bad place, I will be there for me. Well, a couple times I've been in a bad place, and a few people have told me they'd be there for me. Some people I want to be there for me. Some people I don't. Some people it's no offense, but there's some people I want more than others. If I'm close to somebody, sometimes I want those people. I'm honored when somebody I barely know comes, and I've made really good friends by being there for them. But sometimes you just want these people that tell you, I'm there for you 100%. And then the days go by, no actions are done, and suddenly you realize, did they mean that? You actually try to call them and they go to voicemail, and there's no response back, like a call back or even a email saying, oh, I got your call, sorry, was busy. None of that. I understand when people are busy, but I won't understand when people are like, I can't take 30 seconds to write, are you okay? Everything fine? Thinking about you? Stuff like that means the world to me. And I've had a couple people who I'm really close to in the last couple months that have told me time and time again, you need me, I'm there. Sad thing is when they need me, I'm there. And then when the situation's reversed, the person I'm looking for isn't there, and that fucking hurts. Because I can take lies from strangers. I can tell, and I don't want you to think I'm calling them lies. They're untruths, basically. Because I think people want to believe the words they're telling you. But when they become disruptive to their lives, when they realize it's more work than they want to put into it, it's prettier to say the words. But stop saying the words if the actions aren't going to follow through. A lot of people tell me that stuff, and I just instantly throw it into kind of like the recycle bin, like in a computer, saying, oh, that's really sweet. That means a lot to me. But I know if I called them, they wouldn't be there for me. But when you have really close people that do that to you, that's just fucking shit. Especially when I had a couple friendships that I built on total truths. Like, let's be just totally honest with us. One of the friendships in the last couple months has just been absolutely a bit of a mess because of the fact that I've caught them in lies. And they consistently play the lies, as in they know they've been caught, but they're going to stand by it anyhow. Not realizing, or maybe realizing, that it's causing more trouble than it is. It's the worst when you start seeing real people. I recently had a situation that practically floored me. You know, a couple weeks prior, I had talked to this friend, and I'm so honored. You're my best friend. Thank you. We've been together so long. Like, you know, we've been friends for over 30 years, and you are the highlight of my life. My family doesn't give a damn about me, and you've always been there for me. So this was just, you know, around Christmas, and I know sentiment is high around Christmas. So I'm walking with this person, and again, I'm not mentioning names because everybody has off days, and this isn't just pointing fingers. But anyhow, I was walking, and I was talking about, you know, with my 50th coming up, I always make jokes about, I don't know if I'm going to make it or not and stuff. So I made a comment like, well, we don't have to worry about that because I might not even be here. Now, the guy was mad at me, but for unreasonable reasons. I tried to explain the situation, but it was crazy. But anyhow, when I said, well, I might not even be here, he literally looked at me and said, serious, don't get my hopes up. This is one of my closest friends. I was hurt, but I decided to brush it off. I decided that I'm going to walk away from this and take the high ground. He looked me right in the eye. He couldn't look me right in the eye after that. And the person who was with us couldn't believe what they had just heard. And he knew that, and I knew exactly what he said because he couldn't look at me. He could not look at me afterwards. So a couple days went past, and I decided that I was going to continue to take the high ground. And they had chosen to, let's pretend it never happened. And I'm playing no, it happened. And if you chose that you don't want to talk about it or anything, that's your decision. But it happened. It hurt me. I would have got over it if you may have apologized at the time. But when this other person who saw it asked them point blank, are you going to apologize? They said, no, I'm not going to. I'm just going to go on with our lives. And so I kind of made a declaration that I have to deal with the fact this. I had 3 really close people who basically I've caught them in untruths. I won't call them lies, but I've caught them in untruths or just blatantly being assholes, as in the person who said, don't get my hopes up. And I've decided that I'm no more of this. If I start noticing that you want nothing to do with me or you're only going to be there when you need me for stuff, then I'm going to have to, even it's going to hurt me more than them because I get affected when I lose friends. And, you know, they probably don't like lose a wink of sleep over it. And I'm the one sitting there like, oh my God, I miss him so much. I miss him so much. And they just probably are sleeping, having a good time, maybe worrying about me once in a while, but probably not even that. So I decided I have to stand up for myself. I have to, you know, not always be there for them. Like they're obviously not there for me. Because it's easier to say words. Well, it's taught me something. Because now when I say something, I'm going to make sure I really mean it, or I'm going to back it up. So if I, say, I'm going to go out with you, and it's maybe a person that drives me crazy when I go out with them, and trust me, this happens once in a blue moon. It's not you if you're listening. I don't know. But anyhow, I'll go out and but I won't go out of my way okay, let's hang out. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna start being strong, and if it's like, I'm busy, I'm not I'm gonna learn from this, and I'm going to stand up for myself, and I'm going to not be walked over like a doormat. I have to do this. If not, I'm gonna lose it. It's hard though, living in a world where you just question all the time if that's a lie. That's a lie. A lot of promises are lies. People tell you things they want to hear. I'm leaving. I'm going away, but don't worry, I'll be back. You can't offer that. You're just telling me things I want to hear. You cannot, unless you have a time schedule to say, I'm only going away for a couple of years and then I'll be back. If you have an official time thing, you don't know what's going to happen to you. Anyhow, I'm getting off my soapbox now because I'm going to go do stuff, because this has all been about words, this podcast. And I'm now going to go out and follow through, run some errands, hang out with some people, have some fun today, and I expect that you do the same. Next week, 100, episode 100, and I look forward to seeing you then.